What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction of the great country down under. Do Australians have a right to freedom of speech? I bet they do. They should. I feel like I saw a video recently where they're not allowed to cuss in public or curse around officers or something of the manner. I don't completely remember. But I guess we're going to jump in and find out. If you guys happen to enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Let's hear about this law.
Australia is a democratic country, and most Australians grow up thinking we have a right to free speech. Kids start using the phrase from primary school age, mostly to defend their experimental use of naughty words. You can't tell me to go to my room, I have a right to freedom of speech. But is that really true?
Is it?
In America, the US Constitution includes a Bill of Rights that explicitly protects freedom of speech.
Yes.
The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Perhaps Aussie kids got the idea from watching American TV shows that we also have a right to freedom of speech. But Australian law is quite different. Do we have a right to free speech in Australia? The simple answer is no. Australia has no Bill of Rights and no explicit right to freedom of speech in our Constitution. The High Court has recognised that our Constitution implies a right to free speech when we're talking about political matters. In two important cases in the 90s,
So it's not technically, no, we don't have the right. It's not a constitution that says we have a right to freedom of speech like America has. But there is implied freedom of speech, at least in political matters. And I feel like that's when freedom of speech would matter most in political matters, to where people can truly say how they feel without any laws or police coming against them for what they say. Now, I was going to say without any backlash, but you said around the wrong people, then you're probably going to get backlash. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences. You've got the right to say it, but certain things that get said might come with certain consequences. Let's continue.
the High Court of Australia noted that our Constitution requires the government to be elected by its people. Therefore, in order to make informed electoral choices and for Australian democracy to function, those people need to be able to freely discuss their thoughts and opinions on politicians, policies and parties. The High Court later narrowed this implied right in the case of Lang. The implied freedom simply works to prevent the government from making laws that would threaten political communication. So any law that takes away that freedom would be unconstitutional.
What the court, in sort of a series of cases, developed an implied freedom, and they looked at the system of government that the Constitution sets up. And they saw that the Constitution sets up a democratically elected House of Representatives and a Senate. They saw that the Constitution sets up a system of amendment for the Constitution, which requires a referendum, so for the people to go and vote. And the Constitution also sets up a system whereby the government sits in the Houses of Parliament and must answer questions and be what we call responsible to the Parliament. So the court looked at all of these structures and thought, you know, in order to make these structures work, there needs to be a freedom to talk about political matters.
There are some protections of free speech under international.
And I completely agree with that. Once you look at everything, in order for everything to work in the way that it should, yes, there has to be freedom of speech to talk about political parties 100%. Because otherwise, if you're scared to say certain things about a certain party or you're scared to voice your beliefs, then that is censorship. You feel me? And people can't make the informed decision that they would if they had freedom to, if people had freedom of speech and they could go and see all different kind of sources of information and hear what each source has to say. So yes, for an informed decision to be made, there has to be freedom of speech. So when it comes to political parties, I love that there's implied freedom of speech in that matter.
international law. Article 19 of the UN's International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights states that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. However, while the convention provides guidance to our government, it's not technically binding law unless Australia adopts the provisions into our own domestic law, which we haven't done. There are also a number of laws that prohibit some types of speech and could be seen as interfering with free speech. These include criminal laws, secrecy laws, contempt laws, anti-discrimination laws, media and telecommunication laws, information laws, intellectual property laws. Anti-discrimination laws do protect people from discrimination, but they also restrict free speech by making it unlawful to say things that could offend, intimidate, or harass people based on things like race, age, gender, or disability. In other words, we have a freedom of expression, but not a freedom to offend.
Australian law and frankly in international law, human rights sometimes come into tension with each other. So my right to do one thing sometimes rubs up against your right to be protected from something. And that's really important then that we try and find the right balance between those two things.
I do get that, and I completely agree with what he said. With the thing, it's like my right to do one thing may come against your right to be protected from a certain thing. And so I do agree that you would have to find a balance. I really love the way he put that. The freedom to offend. I mean, me personally, I'm a person who doesn't like offending anyone and would go out of my way to not offend anyone. But it's just sometimes you just don't know what's offensive to people. So you may say the wrong thing, but I don't think you that would be going against the law. That may be just like a mistake or accident. But when you just blatantly spew hate speech, then I do think there should be something done about that. So I think I think that's a cool law that's put in place. I guess it stops hate speech and it stops you from saying terrible stuff about someone based off their race, based off their gender, based off their age. Yeah. If you're gonna disrespect someone, disrespect them based off who they are. On the inside. Their personality. That's just me.
If one person's free speech extends beyond just participating in public life and debate and goes into making not just insults but really serious, harmful insults on the basis of a person's race, that is the point where the law steps in. And it does because it's focusing on the harm experienced by that other person.
I like that. I like that.
Rights, Australians' right to free speech is limited and precarious, if you can say that we have a right at all. There are many exceptions to the implied right, and kids, there's even a law that can make you a criminal for swearing. What we can take away from all this is that the unanimous decision in the High Court provided some certainty to free political communication in Australia. However, in the absence of a Bill of Rights, the Australian government can pass new laws that override that implied freedom. So, depending which way you look at it, Australians' right to free speech either relies on or is at the mercy of our government.
I don't like that. I don't like the fact that that law can be taken away at any point of time that implied freedom of speech. Hate speech, yeah, like I said, have no issue with that being kind of censored and that being a law because what you say can truly harm people. But yeah, especially if you don't know that person just based off whatever race they are, that's just disgusting. First of all, first and foremost, it's disgusting behavior. So let me know what you guys thought about the video. Do you feel like, I feel like most Australians that I've talked to or that I've seen in the comment section do feel like they have a right to freedom of speech just because they say some whatever they want, I guess. And so do you think you guys have a right to freedom of speech, or has your speech ever gotten you in trouble with the law? Not in trouble by another person, but like actually with the law. Please talk to me in the comment section. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the next one. I'll see you guys next time.